Okay,
But
well, I see where
I've
this
heard
is
your
going.
argument.
So there will be no further arguments because I see that you're not going to agree to.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is David Heiss. I'm an attorney magistrate. We are scheduled for an informal hearing in two different cases that arise out of one citation. And those
Correct.
two cases are both entitled The People of the City of Battle Creek versus Roosevelt LaShawn Williams. Is that your name, sir?
That is my name.
Uh, Basically, what happens is you were issued one citation. It had two violations listed on it. So it became two different cases, one with an A and one with a B at the end. But we have one informal hearing scheduled for both of those cases because they both arise out of the same transaction, so to speak. I guess, Officer Kellums, is there anything before I begin?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Williams, uh, you're here because you were issued a citation. And in each of those two cases, so for each of those violations, you have three possible responses to the citation. You can first admit responsibility, be assessed the fines and costs, and be done with it. You could, as a second option, admit responsibility with an explanation, hoping that the explanation would cause the court to decrease the fines and costs a little bit. Or you can deny responsibility and have your hearing. It's my understanding that as to both cases, you wished to deny responsibility. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, here's how the hearing works. First of all, I guess I should read the citation. In the case ending with the letter A, it's alleged that back on November 19th of 2024, you were over at Fountain Street near Meacham Avenue in the city of Battle Creek, and you were issued a citation for not being able to provide a proof of insurance. This is a civil infraction. If you were found responsible, all other things being equal, the court would assess $125 fines, costs, and fees. It is a 0-point ticket. And in the second case that ends with the letter B, that same date, time, and place, you were issued a citation for having an expired registration plate. That is also a civil infraction. It is also a 0-point civil infraction. If you were found responsible, all other things being equal, the court would assess $110.
This might sound like a simple traffic stop, expired tags, no insurance. But buckle up, because it quickly spirals into one of those infamous sovereign citizen arguments where the defendant believes the law doesn't apply to them.
Very good. All right, Officer Kellums, if you would begin, please.
So on November 19th, 2024, I was on patrol for the Battle Creek Police Department when I observed the vehicle that Mr. Roosevelt was driving. I observed that it had expired tags on the vehicle. I then conducted a traffic stop on Fountain Street near Meacham Ave. Found Mr. Williams to be driving the vehicle, where I issued him the citations. When speaking with Mr. Williams, he could not provide insurance, and his tags were expired.
Okay. Do you happen to know when they expired?
I do not off the top of my head, sir.
What made you think they were expired? The wrong color and the wrong year on the plate itself, or some other
Yes,
thing?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Did Mr. Williams say anything to you during the stop about having insurance or not having insurance, or anything about the tags on the plates, anything like that?
He informed me that he did not have to have insurance due to that he was traveling, and to drive a vehicle, you don't have to have insurance. Something regarding Supreme Court.
Officer stays calm, just laying out the facts: expired plates, no proof of insurance. But Mr. Williams immediately goes into that classic sovereign citizen script, claiming he's not driving a motor vehicle, but traveling in an automobile. This is where things start to get bizarre.
Kelly, that I am not operating a motor vehicle, but I am operating an automobile. I did inform Officer Kelly of the ruling of Rodriguez v. Ray Donovan, U.S. Department of Labor, 769 Federal 2nd, 1344, where the U.S. Supreme Court's decision has ruled that all codes, rules, and regulations are for government authorities only and not for human creators. In accordance with God laws, all codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. Are you telling me that a case at 769 Fed Second 1344 indicates that all laws are unconstitutional.
All codes, rules, and regulations. Yes, sir. Rodriguez v. Ray Donovan. And if
Well,
I'm not
and
mistaken,
you said that was Department of what?
U.S. Department of Labor.
Okay, U.S. Department of Labor doesn't publish decisions in the Fed Second.
Here's the problem. He's quoting legal cases and federal code, but in ways that don't actually apply. Courts hear this all the time. It's an internet echo chamber version of law, not reality. The judge even tries to clarify, but Williams just doubles down.
Used for commercial purposes. This is what Title 18 USCA Section 31A 6 states or defines as a motor vehicle to which I am not operating in commerce. I'm not using
for the purposes of that particular chapter of the United States Code. It would not control what happens in terms of the Michigan legislature defining in Chapter 257 what a motor vehicle is, and an automobile
right
under Michigan law is a motor vehicle. Okay, continue.
Right, it's a motor vehicle which is described as anything, even by the Michigan compliance statute of 751, which you just stated, is determined as something that's transporting goods, which I'm not transporting goods.
I understand your position, and I can tell you that that position doesn't happen to be legally correct. But go ahead.
So you're basically stating that there's a misinterpretation of what's in black and white?
No, I'm telling you that you have misinterpreted the application of 18 USC 31A6 and 769 F second or Fed second 1344.
Okay,
but
well, I see what
I've heard your argument.
So there will be no further arguments because I see that you're not going to agree to, because like I said, when I've given it to you, the cases where they're like Shapiro v. Thompson, where the U.S. Supreme Court has said that a driver license is not a requirement, that you're trying to convert a right into a privilege, to which is covered by Article 1, Section 8.
I'll ask you this. Is that right, the right to travel?
That is a right to travel, convey, however you want it, by the U.S. Constitution.
What you just told me was that somehow but regardless, am trying to convert a right into a privilege. Now, the question I have for you is, what right has been converted to a privilege?
My right to freely travel
encumbered
and
now,
unfettered.
I will ask you this. How is your right to travel removed by receiving the citation?
By trying to require me to have a license to operate a...
This is a key teaching moment. The judge is patient but firm. He explains the difference between a constitutional right to travel, which absolutely exists, versus the privilege of driving a vehicle on public roads. That privilege comes with rules, insurance, registration, safety. It's not an attack on freedom, it's just common sense law.
Or the United States Supreme Court decision that you have cited. In fact, Michigan courts have held that essentially the right to travel means the right for you to move from A to B, not the right for you to travel from A to B under your most convenient way. So you could walk from point A to B all you want. You could take a taxi or an Uber or a plane or a train or a bus. But if you wish to travel by using a motor vehicle, the Michigan laws are applicable and don't unconstitutionally interfere with the right to travel. It doesn't convert the right to travel into a privilege. You are not denied the right to travel. You may be denied the privilege of traveling via a motor vehicle that you are operating.
I really want you to notice the judge here. He gives a clear, almost textbook explanation of why these sovereign citizen arguments fail. Walking, taking a bus, traveling freely. 100% you're right. But when you're operating a car on public roads, you can't just opt out of safety laws.
Do you not have the documents that I filed when I filed to say that I want to have an informal hearing? The affidavit that writes that my
There are documents that have been scanned into the court that you dropped off.
okay.
So
So
from
even if
those documents, why don't you tell me the proper citation for Shuttle versus Birmingham?
okay, traffic infractions are not crimes, blah blah blah. Person faced with
You're right.
okay.
Traffic infractions are not crimes. That's absolutely correct. They are
Okay,
civil
no,
infractions for a reason.
I was reading from a different case, but the case that I'm citing from states that no license necessary to drive an automobile on public highways, streets. No license is necessary. The word operator should not include any person who solely transport his own property and who transport no persons or property for hire or
Where's that
compensation.
citation from?
Okay, I just appeal it, and that way I can make sure all citations are
That's fine. I mean, the idea is I can't look up what you're telling me, right? Without a
okay.
proper citation. So you can read, I mean, for all I know, and I don't mean this, I'm using a farcical example. For all I know, you're quoting the municipal court in Honolulu, Hawaii, which has no jurisdiction over Michigan.
It's
right?
understandable.
I don't know.
So I would cite Payne v. Massey, 19196 Southwest 2nd, 493.
This part honestly borders on comedy. The defendant cites cases with incomplete names, wrong volumes, even random numbers. The judge calls it out perfectly. People could just quote Mickey Mouse if they wanted. That line alone shows his patience wearing thin.
Well, I have nothing else for you to consider.
Well, very good. I'm letting you know the law does not make a distinction between your using the vehicle for personal reasons or you're using the vehicle for commercial reasons when your registration plate is expired and when you fail to show proof of insurance. Both of those are required.
The MCL language.
Both of those are required under Michigan law for anyone operating any motor vehicle. That's what I can tell you. So
correct.
If you're
a motor vehicle to which I am not operating a motor vehicle, and this is what we are trying to
I guess
circumvent.
Yeah,
I am operating my automobile, not a motor vehicle.
I can tell you that an automobile is considered a motor vehicle under the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code. So that's fine. Is there anything else you want me to consider?
Nope.
Very good. All right. So I've listened very carefully to the evidence. I do find that it's more likely than not that when you were required to by Officer Kellums at a traffic stop show proof that your vehicle was insured, that you failed to do so, and that it is more likely that your not your operator's license, the registration plates on the vehicle were expired. So I'm going to assess the $125 on the no proof of insurance case and the $110 on the expired plates case. What I'll do is
And here's the hammer. The judge finds him responsible, fines him $125 for no insurance and $110 for expired plates. Nothing outrageous, just the normal consequences of ignoring the law. But you can hear the judge's relief as he finally wraps it up.
You want things sent to Benton Harbor 49022. Is that correct?
That is the address. I don't know where the other address is coming from, but that is my address.
Well, I don't know what other address you're speaking of, but that's the address the court now has for you. So both of those judgments will go out in the mail on Monday. And so it'll take, a couple days to get to you or whatever, but you should have copies of them. Certainly, I would say by the end of next week. If you don't, you can always come to the court and obtain a different copy, or you can call the court, and if they have to, they can try to email one to you. But they'll go out in the mail on. And what I'll do is I will put February 14th as the date that those payments are due. 14th of this year. All right. Thank you both for your time and patience. You're all set. Have a very good day.
In the end, this is another textbook sovereign citizen crash and burn. What could have been a quick ticket payment turned into a 20-minute argument over made-up laws. And as always, the law won.